The courtroom was silent, the kind of silence that feels heavy in your chest, like something big is about to happen, something that could change everything. A little girl stood in the middle of it all, her tiny hands trembling, her eyes locked on the man in handcuffs, her father. And when she spoke, her voice was soft, but it carried through the entire room like a thunderclap. "Let my father go, and I'll get you back on your feet." For a moment, no one moved. Then suddenly, laughter broke out across the courtroom. But what happened next would leave every single person there speechless. Before we continue, if stories like this touch your heart, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Welcome to Kindness Lights, where real stories remind us of the power we all have to change lives. It was a typical Tuesday morning in a small American town courthouse. People filled the benches, some curious, some bored. Others waiting for their own cases. At the front, Judge Harold Bennett, a man known for his strict rulings and no-nonsense attitude, adjusted his glasses as he prepared to deliver a sentence. The case was simple, at least on paper. Daniel Reeves, a struggling father, had been charged with theft. He had stolen medicine and food from a local store. It wasn't the first time he'd been in trouble, and this time, the law was not on his side. Standing beside him was his public defender, flipping nervously through papers. Daniel looked tired, worn down by life. His clothes were wrinkled, his face unshaven, and his wrists were locked in cold metal cuffs. But what stood out most was the look in his eyes, not fear, not anger, but heartbreak. Sitting in the gallery was his 6-year-old daughter, Emily. She clutched a small stuffed bear tightly, her wide eyes filled with confusion. She didn't understand laws or charges. She only knew one thing: her father was about to be taken away from her. As the judge began to speak, Emily suddenly stood up. At first, no one noticed. But then she stepped forward, her tiny shoes tapping loudly against the wooden floor. "Excuse me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The room turned toward her. The judge paused, surprised. "Young lady, you need to sit down," he said firmly. But Emily didn't move. Instead, she walked closer to the front, her eyes fixed on the judge. "Please," she said, louder now, her voice shaking. "Let my father go, and I'll get you back on your feet." The room went quiet for a split second. Then, a ripple of laughter spread through the crowd. Some people chuckled under their breath, others shook their heads. Even a few court officers couldn't help but smile at what they thought was an innocent, childish misunderstanding. Judge Bennett raised an eyebrow. "And how exactly would you do that?" he asked, his tone calm but curious. Emily looked down at her shoes for a moment, then back up at the judge. "My dad says kindness fixes things," she said simply. "He says if you help people, good things come back. So, I can help you. I can help anyone." Her words, though simple, carried a sincerity that made the laughter fade. The judge leaned back in his chair, studying her. "And why do you think I need help?" he asked. Emily hesitated, then pointed gently at the judge's wheelchair. "Because you can't walk," she said softly. A hush fell over the room. It was true, Judge Bennett had been in a wheelchair for years after an accident. It was something people didn't talk about, something he rarely acknowledged. But here was this little girl, seeing him not as a powerful judge, but as someone who might need kindness too. "I can read to you," Emily continued. "Or bring you flowers. Or just sit with you so you're not lonely. I can help you feel better. Just, please don't take my dad away." Daniel lowered his head, tears slipping down his face. The courtroom, once filled with laughter, was now completely silent. The judge cleared his throat, visibly moved but trying to maintain his composure. "Emily," he said gently, "your father broke the law." "I know," she said quickly. "But he did it because we didn't have food. He did it because I was sick." Her voice cracked, and she hugged her bear tighter. He's not a bad person. He's the best person I know. Something shifted in the room at that moment. People who had come just to watch now felt something deeper, something uncomfortable and human. The prosecutor looked down, avoiding eye contact. Even the bailiff blinked rapidly, trying to hold back emotion. Judge Bennett sat very still, his hands resting on the arms of his chair. For years, he had followed the law strictly, believing that justice meant consistency. But now, he was faced with something the law couldn't measure, a child's unconditional love and belief in kindness. He took a deep breath. "Mr. Reeves," he said, his voice softer than before, "is what your daughter says true?" Daniel nodded slowly. "Yes, Your Honor. I made a mistake. I was desperate. But I would never hurt anyone. I just wanted to take care of her." The judge looked at Emily again. "And you really believe kindness can fix things?" Emily nodded without hesitation. "Yes. My dad says it's the strongest thing in the world." For a long moment, the judge said nothing. Then, something extraordinary happened. He leaned forward slightly and smiled, a small,